Welcome to the Alex Salmond Show. And for this, our first of two festive programmes, we thought we'd ask back a couple of our guests from over the year, people who made quite a stir. But you know, it's Christmas and a time for wishes. So my first wish is to talk to some of the people I haven't managed to interview in the show. For now.
So to make Alex's wish come true, we've invited a man of many voices, star of stage and screen, LewisMacLeod. Welcome to the Alex Salmond Show.
Thanks for inviting me on.
And how was Christmas for you, Lewis, and where did you spend it?
Well, I was in Scotland, and yeah, I just feel like a genie. I will make your wish come true.
Oh, well, fantastic. We've interviewed a number of people, Lewis, over the year on the show, but there are many people who we would like to have interviewed, and I wonder if you might suggest some people for the future that we should get on this set that Alex could speak to.
Well, I think maybe the President of the United States. We've had a lot of differences over the year, Alec and I. And I think that, you know, repealing the Paris Climate Agreement has been really good for Scotland. I mean, think about it. Blazing sun, Bigley, sunshine on Leaf, forest fires in Dundee. And those two pasty so-and-sos, the Proclaimers, are going to look like Julio and Enrique Iglesias.
So, Mr. President, are you admitting that I was correct in pursuing my offshore wind farm beside your golf course?
I think hairdryers on a beach is a bad idea.
I haven't been allowed to interview you, but I did actually turn up in your lawn. If we look at this clip, there was I outside your big house, and I never even got so much as offered a cup of tea.
So, Mr. President, Alex was outside your home, and you didn't invite him in.
Entered the White House.
Well, it's a long walk to my front door. I don't think he's fit enough. He might have been okay in a golf cart or something, but, you know, they're all farmed out to the Secret Service now.
Tell me, what did you get Melania for Christmas?
She wanted impeachment, but that's another story.
No, really, Mr. President, did you buy her a nice gift? And what about these red Christmas trees in the White House? What was that about?
You know, I just blended in. Slight hint of orange, or is that iron brew for where we come from, Alec?
Well, we'll do our best to get him on the show.
You're an orange face, but you're a Republican. How does that fit in?
It's a little bit of touche éclat. Just blend it in a little.
But Lewis, you've been doing a lot of President Trump around and about. How's it going down? And have you adapted? I mean, he changes every day. He comes up with something new. Are you adapting what you do when you're on stage?
Well, exactly. I mean, just before Christmas, you know, there's no smoking gun. I mean, it's like, you know, there seems to be... You feel how many of these kind of malapropisms is he going to do before it becomes, right, OK, we've done that now. We have to do something else. But, yeah, the smoking gun made me laugh before Christmas.
You don't think Donald Trump is actually... People ask what does drives Donald Trump, and apart from the Secret Service, of course, but is it perhaps he's trying to provide material for your career?
Well,
we are related. He is a MacLeod. Let's not forget.
His mum's Scottish.
His mum was Mary MacLeod, that's absolutely true.
From the Highlands, from Stornoway, I think it was.
She got a better reception as an economic migrant entering the United States of America in 1926 than they seem to be getting now.
Well, that's a very... I've never been good at figures, but, you know, I'll agree on that one there.
Yeah, it's amazing that we got a wig. We got this fantastic company called Alex Rouse provide us with this kind of amazing Donald Trump wig, and it's sort of... When you put it on and do the, you know, get the expressions and, you know, do the whole bronzed look and how, you kind of, you go, oh, chings, this does look a bit like him. It's a bit weird. And I put it down to Alex Rouse, but friends are going, no, it's because you're related.
You don't get too much into character. You don't go about pushing buttons or anything like that.
Yeah, particularly red ones, you know.
Yeah, it's just, when I started doing Trump, I think I sounded a bit like Alec Baldwin in the movie Glengarry Glen Ross.
Right. You know, that sort of, may I have your attention for a moment, because you're bitching about what, some cell you shot?
But actually, I figured, well, and when we really had to study his voice because he was running for president, we decided that, or I came up with the idea, well, if he wins this, he's not going to be talking to 20, 30,000 people every day. He's going to be, you know, it's the Barbara Walters. What made you do it, Donald? I realized I was the only guy for the job. And it was a more intimate Trump. And then there's the inauguration, Trump with the words, trail off. I don't know, I think the more you do it, like any voice, I listened to impressions I did years ago, I listen to them now and I think, oh, geez, that sounds nothing like them.
But what did you do before Trump? So many people now do Trump. Not as well as you
Obama.
do. Did you?
Well, that was the thing about Barack Obama it was how do you make this really cool guy funny? And two friends of mine, two brilliant writers, Julian Dutton and Duncan Wisby, came up with this speech, and I watched them form it. Well, it sort of became this. It was, we're fighting the flames of despair with the cooling waters of hope and courage, fanned by the winds of truth. And I've used that, which gives you stand-up. Does he talk like that at breakfast? Pour forth the golden flakes of change that we may guard ourselves against the insouciant pangs of hunger. But when Trump came along, the gifts of comedy were already there. And it was easier to write for him because, well, he writes for himself. And
So let's tell the truth here. In the 2016 presidential election, did you find yourself at all conflicted? On the one hand, for the security of the planet, it was probably a good idea if Hillary Clinton won. On the other hand, for the security of your career, Donald Trump was a godsend.
There's been a lot of people that asked me that you must be the only person that's happy if he gets re-elected. But I remember the evening he won it. I was with Jan Ravens, and there was a very down atmosphere at the end of it. And I remember going home and I reflected on...
She does Hillary Clinton.
That's right, the best Hillary Clinton and the best Theresa May. It's really extraordinary. When she does, Theresa, you may remember, that slight sort of wobble in the voice. But, and she looked like Hillary. Again, the makeup was phenomenal too, but the voice was stunning. And yeah, there was, I remember that the Gettysburg address that he did, where I really thought, he might do this. And I got very nervous. And, but I guess it will be what it is. And we've got great writers who tend to give us the material, I don't really write much of his material.
Philosophical of you. Lewis.
Well,
you think I should interview the president if he'll deign to come on the show, but who should Tasmina be interviewing, you think?
Well, I like the sound of that, Tasmina. Maybe Sean would be quite good, another keen golfer.
Lewis, you have to say my name again. I love the way Sean would say my name.
Tasmina.
Have you ever met Sean, Lewis? And if you did, would you dare do the impression in front of him?
No, I'd love to have met Sean Connery. I think, that's one of my heroes,
Well,
Billy
it's time
Connery.
enough yet. I mean, just get yourself a set of clubs and off to Lyford Key.
Imagine a golf game between Sean and the president. I mean, that would be hilarious.
Well, he's the intercourse champion.
Well, I only go out in the low 70s. If it's any colder, I don't bother. Yeah. I did meet one of my other heroes, Billy Connolly, once, and in fact, I played a sketch where I was Sean Connolly, where I looked like Billy Connolly, but I had the voice of Sean Connery. But I met Billy after one of his concerts and did this gag while he was signing autographs. I said, "Here, Billy, I think you should have your own news channel." And I said, "BCNN, the Billy Connolly News Network." And he just went, "Aye, very good."
I had the amazing opportunity of meeting Sean back in 2015 when he was doing the audio introduction for Alex's book, The Dream Shall Never Die, in the Bahamas, no less. And what a gent, though, a consummate professional. We'd had a phone conversation a couple of days before where we discussed what he was going to be doing. And of course, whenever he phoned, I was on holiday with my family.
And did he say Tashmina?
He just said Tashmina, just the way you say it, which is wonderful.
Are you wearing a pashmina?
Well, no, indeed not. But I used to put him on speaker whenever he phoned because my kids would get so excited to hear Sean's voice. But I arrived at his amazing place in Bahamas, met his wonderful wife, Micheline, and everyone was in a bathrobe. I felt quite out of place, but it was a wonderful experience that I will never forget. But a gent, it was had a great time.
But what was it? You played a composite figure once between Sean Connery and Billy Connolly. What was that about?
Yeah. It was for a sketch show back in, my goodness, I was only 1990, called Up to Something. And it was, Kim Fuller wrote this brilliant sketch where it was Sean Connery, the voice of Sean Connery, but I looked like Billy Connolly, hello! And so I was doing this, and it was all this hair high there. Back in my day, the neighbours, were fantastic. We used to leave our front and back doors open all day and all night. Our neighbours stole everything we had. Yeah.
And did either of them see the show? That's the question.
I don't know. Well, we've shared a radio show many years ago.
Yeah, I never talk about that because that was a series off the ball, which
That's
is
right.
a Scottish football
Still running.
comedy, fantastic
25 years.
cult series. And you played, if I remember right, an up-and-coming young, dashing Scottish politician.
Alistair Darling?
I wonder who that could be. Well, that's right. I played Alec many times.
In fact, you told me, I think it may have been an off-the-ball dinner or a function, I can't remember when, years ago,
That Sean was, in fact, a big fan of the show.
Because he thought it was me, you see.
You're too kind. But to have Sean Connery say, yes, I like that programme, that's pretty good. Boosted the show's ego no end.
Sean used to listen a great deal to Off the Ball. But and did you reflect the fact that my team was Heart of Midlothian?
That's right. And there have been wins and losses. I don't know how many, but...
Over the 25 years, have Hearts won more than Hibs? I don't know, Alec.
Well, it was a bit like my political career. We started off with lots of losses and then we gathered a few wins.
So what are you doing now? What's next for you, Lewis, in the new year?
Well, the new year, we're kind of excited about... I work quite a lot on Radio 4. I think we've got a new series of Dead Ringers starting, and Ronnie Ancona playing Melania Trump against Donald might be quite a good laugh. We're hoping to do some projects together with that, and who knows, a lot of live work. I do a lot of voiceover work where I get asked to do trailers in a world. That's my day job, which I love, you know.
And what are the opportunities like for Scottish artists down here in London?
Well, amazing, really. I made the move in 1995, and in fact, one of your guests was she was my lodger. She was the sponsor I had in London in '95 when I had 20 pence in the bank. So yeah, you've got to make the move though, and I commute. I still go up to Scotland, and
but you know, this time of year, I thought we'd have been seeing you in Panto, you know, playing a great dame, or alternatively a great villain.
Well, I think Trump might be a great villain in a Panto.
I don't know if I did Panto once with Danny LaRue many years ago.
The great Danny LaRue. 3 pairs of tights.
What character did you play?
I was wishy-washy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Still am. No.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed, darling.
How would the president react to the entire theatre booing him every time he came on stage?
That's enough. Get him out of here. Lock him up. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
Now, you mentioned a few minutes ago that one of our guests on this Christmas show is someone you used to board with when you were a struggling young comedian in London. Sounds like this is your life.
Coming up after the break, whilst I break these two lads up, we've asked back people whose interviews created a great impression with the viewers. Wonderful actress Debbie Arnold and former Liberal MP Lembit Opik. Join us in. Welcome back and welcome to the show. Debbie Arnold and Lembit Opik, who are joining. Lewis, who's still with us. Did you all have a good Christmas? Lembit, Debbie?
Yeah, it was all right, I suppose, if you like that kind of thing.
Oh, bah humbug.
It's Lib Dem stuff, you know. Really
But you're no longer a Lib Dem. You can be cheerful now.
OK, then, I've changed my mind. It was a great Christmas.
Debbie,
Look, that's how impressionable I am.
Yeah, I love Christmas. I love Christmas. I'm a real Christmas bunny, so.
Of course, Debbie, you were on the show, on the set just over there, a few months ago when we were commemorating or marking Holocaust Memorial Day, and you told the wonderful story, moving story about your family. And let's take a quick look at that clip.
She remembers sitting on her papa's knee and him saying to her, if you hear yes and no, you're in England. So she knew those words in English. Then she said that she remembered going to the station and she was really excited to go and see a train in a station. And she was with Mama and Papa.
And this was from Vienna.
This is from Vienna. She was holding her mother and father's hand, and her auntie was there as well, and she was skipping towards the train. Loads of people at the station. Then she turned around and her mother had gone, her father had gone, and she was holding hands with her auntie. And she was looking around for Mama and Papa, bearing in mind she was this high. And then the next thing she knew, she was pushed on the train and turned around and her auntie was gone. And then she started to get frightened and started to cry, and she couldn't see over to the window. So, you know, the train was here and my mother couldn't see out of the window, so she just started to cry.
That, of course, got a tremendous reaction from so many who watched the show. And what are you doing now?
Well, I think the thing is, it's so sad when you think of that little girl, my mum. And there are hundreds and thousands of children now that we just can't seem to rescue. Safe Passage are trying to rescue these kids. But in the last 2 years, they've only rescued 20. When you think the Kindertransport, in 10 days, they got something through the government, and within 10 months they rescued 10,000 children. Why? 80 years later, is this happening again? And we can't help the children. I'm so passionate about this. And Safe Passage and Lord Alf Dubs, you know, we've got something going, and we're trying to get more children out, but it just doesn't seem possible. Doesn't this go above politics? Isn't this humanitarian? She says. It makes me so sad.
Well, you make a good point, because the year has been taken over by Brexit, and very much almost these things have been put on the back burner, which are really important and impacting.
You know, children are living in fields, they're dying. You know, 3,000 people have died this year trying to get to this country. I'm talking about little children like my mother who've just been left, little children that are left to die, being raped. I mean, it's the most awful thing. And why can't we just bring unaccompanied children to this country? This isn't about immigration. This is nothing to do with immigration. This is helping people that need help.
No mother is going to put her child in a dinghy to get across thousands and thousands of miles of oceans and seas unless it's a safer option than where she is.
And that's why
moment.
the charity is called Safe Passage. We are trying to bring people over. I mean, the government pledged to bring over 3,000 children. They didn't even bring over 300. I mean, the law was appealed. I mean, what is going on here? I mean, how can we say that we're going to divorce Brexit and there's going to be £50 billion to do that, and we can't get the money together and help these children? They need help.
Well, Lembit, enough of Brexit. Debbie's had enough.
It's not my fault. I wasn't there. The truth, I actually helped to set up the Holocaust Memorial Day, and it's amazing how the difference between what you're talking about compares to what's been happening in politics. I don't know about you, Mr. Salmond, but I don't miss Parliament because it's a single issue thing now. Very different to my life. It's really been quite an extraordinary year in terms of the journey that I've had.
And when you appeared on the show, Lembit, there was a clip which had a big viewer reaction, because it was a programme about how people overcame setbacks in politics, and you talked about when you lost your seat as a Member of Parliament. Let's have a look at that clip.
I was on Have I Got News For You the morning after I'd lost. They'd booked me beforehand, expected me to pull out, but of course that was the subject of humour. You laugh at the time, but you're not laughing inside. And over time, I lost that momentum and I lost direction. If you like, I lost my narrative. I had been an MP, I expected to be an MP, and now it was nothing. And I had no role civically in my area. I looked out the window and thought, what do I do next?
But as you went on to say that you've rebuilt a life and commenting on politics and other things as well. So how's that going as a commentator as opposed to a practitioner?
Well, seeing that clip reminds me, it was a very honest conversation I had with you, and it was actually quite emotional. And I thought about it afterwards. You have to basically reinvent yourself. There's no sympathy when you leave. It's like, really sorry you lost, bye-bye, and that's it, your history. It took me really about 7 or 8 years to do that. Now I'm Director of Communications Public Affairs for the Motorcycle Action Group, and I suppose that is political, but it's not party political. And I'm actually in politics again as well. I'm chair of the Parliament of Ascardia. You won't have heard of that, have you?
Well, yes, I have.
Have you? The Space Nation.
Well,
I'm
this pursuit, when you were an MP, one of your notable campaigns was on the Earth being in imminent danger from asteroids. And
near-Earth objects, to be
well, as it turned out, it was Donald Trump.
Space Force, great guys.
Coming back to the subject of adversity, and of course how difficult it can be for somebody coming to London, a person struggling to make their career. How did you and Lewis meet?
We met and he was playing Jiminy Cricket in a pantomime.
That's right.
He was long and he was green and he was very, very strange. But my ex-husband said this guy is a genius. It's the only bright thing he's ever said in his life. and Lewis basically said, well, yes, I'd love to come live to London, but I've only got 32p in the Abbey National. And I said, you're going to come and live with us? And he said, no, I can't. And we dragged him down here, and the kind of rest is history. He came to live with me. So I had a grown-up child of 25 and a daughter of 2 and one of 7, and he became my son.
And of course your dad's an impressionist as well, is that right?
Yeah, Eddie.
Yes, Eddie Arnold. My father was an impressionist.
I'm absolutely shocked, incidentally, that you were using Abbey National, not some good Scottish bank.
She got the bank right as well. I don't know how that was.
I never forgot it. It was Debbie, I've only got 32p in the
Actually,
Abbey
that was
National.
pretty much what I had in the bank. It was like 32p or something, yeah.
Some of the work, serious work you do, which is, you know, in relation to the National Bullying Helpline. Social media, which impacts on what's happening in politics and around the world, of course. can have quite a negative impact on young people.
Yes, I think so. And the National Bullying Helpline are fantastic. I mean, they've helped so many people, at least, and it's not just kids. You know, it's adults that get bullied in the most, you know, important workplaces in the world. And people are terrified to go back to work because of what's been happening with their bosses. This isn't Me Too. This is just bullying in the workplace. I didn't realise it was so bad. You know, as actors, you know, we have a great life or whatever, but I've known a lot of actresses and actors, and you must have known this as well, being afraid to go to work because people weren't very nice to them on the set, and you just think, oh well, that's something, we've dealt with it. But then as you get older, you realise that it's not right to treat people like that.
You get quite a lot of calls from Parliament then.
Yeah, obviously.
Well, Lembit, when you were in Parliament, there must have been some things that you were able to achieve in the time that you were there that really meant something to you.
Yeah, the biggest single thing I did was the Northern Ireland peace process. I was the only mainland politician who was there from the beginning of it to the end, the whole 10 years. It was frightening. You were sitting in rooms with people who hadn't maybe killed people, they'd definitely done it. And in a couple of occasions, they'd actually attempted to kill people I knew. That was really strange, it was frightening. But at the same time, it led to a result of saving lives as well. Probably the best thing I did. And then there's the not-so-special stuff as well, and I don't miss what's turned into a single-issue parliament at the moment. And it's the diversity. I was chucked out. I lost my seat. But the diversity I've got now, I wouldn't swap for anything.
I know what that's like, Lembit.
Well, I think three of us at least have that in common.
But I mean, do you think, well, despite the single-issue parliament, the characters are not quite what they were? Or is this just a couple of old fogies looking back and say things were better? But I mean, every time Dennis Skinner comes on, you know, as a lively octogenarian, it's a reminder of how lively things used to be, character-wise.
I think the character's been pushed out because it's just not worth the candle risking being a big character and then being lambasted by the media, not being able to get your message across, and just having the whole optimism corroded. I think that's what's happened.
So, Lewis, if we're lacking some characters from Parliament, that's bad news for you. I mean, if you think previous generations, you know, Mike Yarwood had Dennis Healy, Ted Heath, Harold Wilson, very easy to impersonate, you know, big, recognisable figures. Are you struggling for figures to impersonate in the House of Commons?
Right, Black Belt Boris. That is really it. There aren't that many. There's...
Aston McVeigh, Zuha, couldn't I?
Oh,
Liverpool with
yeah.
That's all I've got to do, isn't it? Yeah.
I did a series where I was about 23. George Galloway was one I enjoyed doing. Let me be very clear, with a hat and all that.
In many guises.
Oh, yeah.
18 sitting days in Parliament. You know, I will be banned, but I will be back.
You know, and, well, Farage, we do still Farage.
Yeah, he's a character.
No, let me speak. Okay, mine's a large one. Yes, I'm drinking, and yes, I'm bragging.
You've brought lots and lots of fun. I'm sure our viewers are fed up with Brexit, and thank you all so much for making it all sound so much better in this special seasonal show. And we have, as a token of our appreciation for you coming here, some gifts for you.
Right. Liz, you made my dream come true at the start of the programme. Now I'm going to give you something. This is a quaich. Well, I don't need to tell Lewis, but perhaps for Debbie, the drill is whiskey in the quaich and then round your close friends. Only Scotch, of course. Could you do the honours for me?
Of course, sir. My pleasure. Move along.
Look at that.
You know, people have said I've needed to see a quack for years. This is great. And if I rub it, a genie pops up.
Yeah, of course.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Lembit, you've got a quaich.
I have.
So you can't get another one.
That's all right.
However, we've given you a present. It's very heavy.
Oh, it is.
Real McCoy.
I'm not going to put this on expenses. That's the best thing.
Open it later, for the new year.
Can I look at that?
So thank you so much for being on the Alex Salmond Show and for making such a cracking start to our festive editions.
And we all hope you have a wonderful new year and it brings you health, happiness, joy and all the things you could ever want.
Thank you so much.
Happy New Year.
But one final festive thought before you all go, coming back by popular demand and given it's the season to be jolly. Here is the Reverend. I am jolly. Have a wonderful new year.
Hello. It's been a hell of a year. No, it really has been one hell of a year. Many among us are facing enormous challenges and innumerable difficulties. Friendless, isolated, lonely, facing eviction this Christmas. And so we all must feel sympathy for Theresa May. I myself was fortunate enough to receive a Christmas card from Number 10. I reciprocated this Yuletide gesture. Imagine my disappointment when my card was returned not known at this address. But enough of politics, as the Prime Minister should have concluded some time ago if she'd even announced a sense. My fortunes in the sporting arena did not go well this last year. In a groundbreaking interdenominational initiative, myself and Father McGuinty drew lots to be a resident chaplain to the men's and women's international football sides. The result is that McGuinty is relishing 2 weeks in June at the finals with Scotland's all-conquering women's team in Gay Paris. Meanwhile, I'm looking forward to 2 days in Vladivostok in December as the men's side embark on yet another quest for qualification. But we still have a lot to be thankful for. And I like to maintain a cheerful disposition. As ever this Christmas, my focus is on the ordinary people. I prefer my 3 shepherds to my 3 kings of the Orient, particularly since I've never encountered gold, myrrh, or frankincense, or any denomination higher than a £1 note in the watch night service collection plate. Earlier in the year, I took my Jolly Jaunts Evangelical Crusade camper van around the highways and byways of Scotland, the Highlands and the Lowlands, up Glen and down Dale, through housing schemes, streams and mighty rivers, largely because the sat-nav bought at the Shanghai Mission was still focused on downtown Shenzhen. It was, however, the most enormous and joyful success, even if many of our audience had seen better days. Not so much River Dance as Zimmer Dance or Corbin at Glastonbury. But in times such as this, we turn for comfort to the Gospel, to Caledonians chapter 20, verse 14. And the Lord saith unto Scotland, Ye are destined to be unluckiest among nations. The day thy ship cometh in, thou shalt all beest at the airport. Merry Christmas, a good new year, and may your God go with you.